Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kim Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. Yeah. You did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. The NBA playoffs roll on with a future Hall of Famer not being part of it. We'll get to the very latest in the Lakers and Timberwolves series. Also talk a little Rockets and, of course, the Golden State Warriors, not to mention our resident expert on television and media as it pertains to streaming and sports betting. Simon Applebaum will join us here on the show. We'll talk NBA, of course, and bring in Brady Kannon as the Byron Nelson Classic is underway, signature event for the PGA Tour. That and a whole lot more on this edition of the show. Let's get started with the National Basketball Association, and they are headed to a Game 6, Houston and Golden State, as the Rockets stay alive. 131-116 was the final. Amen Thompson, who may be considered Houston's best player at this point going forward in the playoffs. He had 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. It was a quiet game scoring for Steph Curry, who had 13 points and 17 assists in only 23 minutes. And the reason why is because Houston was up 31 points in this game. But naturally, the Rockets still up against it. Warriors still favored to win the series. But for now, Ime Udoka very happy with all the little things the Rockets did to win the game last night.
All the above. Physicality, attention to detail, focus, effort, communication, all the above. The things we talked about where we have to be consistent in those areas, we were from the start on both ends. Great defense. Had some guys that made some threes that we don't mind taking them, and other than that, we locked in on everybody and then turned our defense off and got outran.
How big was Amen in that defensive effort?
Yeah, of course, he's the head of the snake as far as that when it comes to Curry specifically. The ball pressure without fouling, obviously picked him a few times there, but just wearing on him and then everybody else doing their job as well. Missed him a few times on some offensive rebounds where we didn't locate him, but other than his flurry in the second quarter, we had 11 of his 13. We did a great job.
There were a couple of possessions where you get downhill and you see a lot of white jerseys, so you just got to figure out where the driving angles are. We need to get Jimmy more involved in the half court with the right spacing around him. And then, we all got to make shots. So it is on me to balance all of that and, put some points on the board and get ourselves some rhythm early.
The Minnesota Timberwolves pull off the biggest surprise thus far in the first round of the NBA playoffs. A series that wasn't even close. They beat the Los Angeles Lakers in 5 games after their win last night, 103-96. LeBron James played his final game of the season. Is it the final game of his career? We'll have to wait and see. 22.7 for King James, but Rudy Gobert was the story of the game for the Timberwolves last night. 27 points and 24 rebounds for Gobert. The Timberwolves are moving on to the next round, which has them excited.
Feels good. Just finally getting some of the balls coming my way, and then and also my teammates finding me offensively. But it's about winning, and earlier in the series, where we won and I think 2 points, 6 points. I thought we were playing the right way as a team. So, sometimes the ball is not coming, but somebody else is getting wide open shots. And if we play winning basketball, it's always a good thing for me. So, that's the strength of our team. And every given night, it can be somebody else.
The fact that you're gonna enter into an offseason on a roster that has Luka Doncic, that secured the number 3 seed in the West in a really tough West this year. What type of thoughts does that give you about your end game? And, how many more years will we see you play?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. Something I sit down with my family, my wife, and my support group and kind of just talk through it and see what happens. And then just have a conversation with myself on how long I want to continue to play. I don't know the answer to that right now, to be honest. So
we'll see what LeBron does in the future. All right, now let's get over to the National Hockey League, where the series between the Jets and the Blues rolls on. Winnipeg now takes a 3-2 series lead. Kyle Connor of the Jets had a goal and 2 assists. A very impressive performance. Scott Arnell, head coach of the Jets, looking forward to moving on.
Yeah, I thought it was throughout the lineup. It was outstanding. I thought that everybody stepped up. And obviously finding out that Scheif wasn't coming back. But even prior to that, I thought we had a great first, and we were physical. We were battling, competing, doing all the things we had to do, to get ourselves going. And just real proud of the way the guys stuck together and just played our game. We got the Jet hockey. We got the Jet hockey early, and we played it for 60 minutes.
Another game coming up this weekend. Meanwhile, no next game between the Washington Capitals and Montreal Canadiens. For the first time in 7 years, the Caps win a playoff series. They beat Montreal 4-1. Alex Ovechkin posts another goal in this game. After the game, Ovechkin saying the regular season now showed it really didn't mean anything, needed that playoff win.
You just take game by game. What happened in the past to what happened in the regular season is over. Right now, we're focusing on game 1, round 2. So, we won the series, and we're gonna enjoy it tonight. And tomorrow, it's a new day, and it's gonna be a new series. So we have to be smart, and we have to move on and game by game.
Meanwhile, in the National Hockey League, the battle between the two teams in the state of Florida goes to the defending champion Panthers. They beat the Lightning last night 6-3. All 6 goals scored by different players. Panthers win the series 4-1. Sam Bennett of the Cats talking about getting contributions from all.
What can you say of the trust that you and your teammates showed one another until the very end of this game?
Yeah, it was just a solid game. We got a little bit from every single line. Our defense was unreal. Our penalty kill was unreal. Bobby was unreal. So, everyone chipped in, and that's what you need in those elimination games. They're not easy, and you need everyone to step up, and we got that tonight.
Meanwhile, in Major League Baseball, a host of afternoon games we'll get to in just a sec. First, let's recap what happened last night around the league. very specifically keeping an eye on this fan in Pittsburgh who fell from the Clemente Wall at PNC Park, fell over the railing and onto the ground, listed as critical condition. Corbin Burns picks up his first win of the season. The Diamondbacks hold off the red-hot Mets 4-3. The Orioles win 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. They finally get a win as they've had a rough start, and they win the series finale 5-4. And finally, the Colorado Rockies are on the board. They only have 5 wins this season, but they got a win yesterday. They end their 8-game losing streak. They beat Chris Sale and the Atlanta Braves by a final of 2-1. All right, let's talk some afternoon baseball today because we have 2 games starting before 1 p.m. Eastern. The Cubs will take on the Pirates and Paul Skeens. 12:35 Eastern. Pirates, of course, favorites in this game, minus 130 on the money line. Cardinals will take on the Reds at 12:40 Eastern. That's the next game on the board. Matthew Liberatore against Andrew Abbott, and then the Royals and Rays will begin today at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. That's a 1:10 Eastern start. Diamondbacks Mets shortly after that. So those are the afternoon slate in Major League Baseball games. And if you're getting ready for the big events this weekend, including the Run for the Roses at Churchill Downs, and you want to learn more about who potentially could win the event, make sure you download the SportsGrid app. It's available for both iOS and Android. Just take out your phone and scan that QR code. Streaming options, different picks against the spread, and all kinds of content, which is second to none. Download the SportsGrid app, and it'll set you up for the remainder of your day as you're watching all of our programming, including Gilbert McGregor from Sporting News, who's up next.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
DRS.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it
very
be Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
I
It is
just told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of the
it.
sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Gilbert McGregor of Sporting News. Boy, we got a lot to unpack here with the NBA last night, so let's get right to it. What we learned here is that the Rockets, Gilbert, are not going to quit. So that's the good news. Even after this great regular season that they had, the Warriors were favored to win the season. There was some sentiment that would close out the game last night. They did not, so Houston stays alive. So now the bigger question is, can they pull this whole thing around and win 2 more?
It's a tough question. It's especially tough for them to go back to Golden State first and foremost and get a win. It's it's going to be difficult to go there. It's not the Oracle Arena that we know, but it's Chase Center, and the Warriors are going to be a little motivated. There's been a lot of smack talk between these two teams. But again, I've said this a few times about this Rockets team. Maybe they're too young to care, and they exposed some flaws. The Warriors did not show up. Steve Kerr said he did not have those guys prepared. So you leave the door cracked open a little bit. You give a team some confidence, and I think that the Rockets are going to go into Game 6 confident and not caring enough. So I expect definitely a dogfight in Game 6 between these two teams. It'll stay close, but I still expect the Warriors to get the job done. That championship experience will get them over the top.
Big surprise in the NBA, arguably biggest surprise in round one. I don't think we'll see another one here as the heavily favored Lakers go down. The Minnesota Timberwolves, all the talk naturally is going to be about LA, but let's give the Timberwolves some credit here. They did this all season long, surprise teams. They did it again last night in Los Angeles. Rudy Gobert had a game to remember, 27, 24, 12 of 15 from the field, and 2 blocks. So let's start with Minnesota and just how far they can go. Some folks think they got a real shot even to win next round, Gilbert. And then your thoughts on where LA goes from here.
Absolutely. Credit where it's due. And one thing that stood out when we saw that first graphic is that Minnesota was just one game behind the Lakers in the standings this year. So it's not like the typical 3-6 matchup where teams were super far apart. And the Timberwolves took advantage of the Lakers' biggest issue, which is the lack of a center. And Rudy Gobert, definitely himself, 27 and 24. They dominated on the glass. Anthony Edwards didn't score well, didn't shoot well, but he was a great distributor, great rebounder in the game, and took care of the ball. He's seeing a lot of different looks. He's seeing double teams from other teams, and we can see him growing up in real time to say that he's 23 years old. Julius Randle stepped up, and Dante DiVincenzo, these guys who didn't even have to shoot well. This Timberwolves team missed over 43s in the game and still dominated and found a way to win. I'm confident in them. Either if it's the Warriors or the Rockets, I think they match up well in both series. And again, they're a team that's very confident. As for the Lakers, a lot of questions. The big one starts with what I said. How are they going to address their need for a center? Jackson Hayes wasn't the guy to get the job done. LeBron James was the tallest player that played more than 5 minutes for the Lakers, and that's not a mode or a formula for success. So they're going to be a destination for free agents and trades, but it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do.
Let's get to tonight's game between the Knicks and Pistons, where Detroit is favored by 1.5 points, which is what they were the last time they played at home, and they lost to the Knicks. Gilbert, it certainly feels like if the Knicks play their game, they win and they move on. But there have been moments in this series where they are not playing their game. I mean, how many times could they ask Jalen Brunson to just carry them in the fourth?
Yeah, and that's a tough question because the further that this series goes, the more banged up he's getting. He's turning his ankle, he's falling on the ground and all these things like that, and they're asking a lot of him. And credit to the Pistons, they're keeping the Knicks from playing their game in some of these spots. And I said it earlier in the week, they had opportunities to be up in this series. And Detroit, I think, is going to have another sense of pride tonight. I said they weren't going to go outside in Game 5, and now they're back home. They don't want to go 0-3 at home in this series. The Detroit fans have not seen a playoff win in a very long time in person, and I expect the Pistons to force a Game 7 for those reasons. It's just really hard to see them losing 3 times at home. The Knicks are a very good road team, but I think the Pistons take care of business and force a Game 7 where anything could happen.
Who do you like best to step up over or under their total tonight? Let's take a look on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Cunningham, Brunson, Towns, 27.5, 28.5, 23.5. Those are the numbers we're looking at on that graphic. Anyone in particular stand out?
Towns stands out the most to me, thinking about the way he's been shooting the ball, the big shots that he made down the stretch, specifically in Game 4. I think that his offensive skills and talents are great. I know that Jalen Brunson has the injury issue, and that gives you some pause, but he's a great playoff performer, so you can't really go wrong with him. I'm just getting a little bit of pause with the ankle injuries, and that's probably why the number is a little bit lower than we usually see. It's usually in the 30s.
All right, finally, tonight, series that feels like it's destined for 7, but you never know. Clippers take on the Nuggets. This time the Clippers are favored in this game. They just keep, exchanging body blows here, so to speak. Total 212. Boy, Gilbert, 2 evenly matched teams. But can the Nuggets at least keep this game close tonight in LA?
I do expect the Nuggets to keep this game close. It does feel like the Clippers are kind of running out of steam here. had a stinker from James Harden in Game 5, and that was tough. They need more from him. Need a little more from Kawhi Leonard. He was excellent in Game 2 when they stole home court advantage, but this series has been an interesting back and forth. Each team has now picked up a blowout, and each team has won some close games as well. So I think the Clippers are going to have a sense of pride. I think they're going to try and extend this series 7 games. It feels like we're destined for that, but a part of me feels like they've run out of gas, and for that reason, I think at least the Nuggets will be able to keep this close, because I think they can sense a little bit of opportunity there to close this out, and they know the Thunder are waiting for them. So the earlier they get this series finished with, the better.
Gilbert, before we go, I know coming up early next week is a very big moment for a lot of teams in the NBA, arguably as big as when Wemby was available. I mean, Cooper Flagg, I would guess, is going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. The NBA lottery is Monday at 6:30 Eastern. Do you see this kind of draft being a game-changing draft for whoever gets the number 1 overall pick? You think he has that kind of impact? Because it seems to me every draft mock that I see has him 1-1.
He is the consensus number 1 for a reason. I think it's important to temper your expectations with an 18-year-old, but he is as good as advertised. And 2 or 3 years into his career, he is going to live up to those expectations. So whoever ends up winning that number 1 draft pick will accelerate their rebuild toward being a playoff contender and probably a title contender as well if they build it the right way around him. So it'll be really exciting to see who wins that number 1 pick, because it will alter the shape and the future of the NBA in some respects.
All right, Gilbert, great stuff as always. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Gilbert McGregor with us. Coming up next, it's a signature event on the PGA Tour before we hit the PGA Championship later this month. It's called the Byron Nelson Classic. So who else other than Brady Kannon to bring in and discuss all of the odds-on favorites to win this huge event on the PGA Tour? You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be back right after these quick messages, talking some golf after this.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, you get rid of Booker, because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Brady Kannon. We got the Byron Nelson Classic on deck this weekend on the PGA Tour, and of course PGA Championship coming up in a couple weeks. Great to have you back here. Brady on the show. Let's kind of run through it here. Certainly a bigger event on the tour. I said it was a signature event. I misspoke on that. So a lot of golfers still can get rich off winning this one, let's be honest, but not as rich as maybe some of the others. But some big names playing in this one. I see Scotty Scheffler's name involved, Jordan Spieth as well. Live Golf also will get a preview of that as well.
Yeah, a couple of Texans. They often play in their home state events. Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth, as you mentioned, they're at the top of the odds board here for the Byron Nelson, just about 30 miles outside of Dallas in McKinney, Texas at TPC Craig Ranch. They are off and running, and we've got one player doing really, really well, a couple players not doing so well, and a couple players yet to tee off. Rico Hoey was one of our pre-tournament bets at 80-1, and he is one shot off the lead currently at 4 under par. Lee Hodges and Taylor Moore currently a stroke or two over par. Those were a couple of our selections as well. And then Jake Knapp and Matty Schmid yet to tee off. Nothing but long shots this week, Craig. Scheffler at 3-1, Spieth at around 20-1. And then the next thing you know, you've got 30, 40, 50 guys in the neighborhood of 50 to 150 to 1. I think if it's not Scotty or Spieth, you're going to get a long bomb winning this week at the Nelson.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun tournament to watch here. And you mentioned, certainly some of the long bombers here. And, naturally you have some big shots here taking in this one. Let's go through some of the names here because I'm going to need some help here. Jake Knapp, 55-1. Taylor Moore, 66. Rico Hoey, 80-1. Joel Dahman, I recognize his name at 100-1. Lee Hodges and Matty Schmid. Those are the names that you're interested in this week.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. These guys all made sense as far as the skill set. This is a pretty easy golf course. It's a birdie fest. They did get some moisture in the last couple of days as well, so I think it softened up the golf course. I basically looked at guys that are good off the tee and good on approach, and then that you hope to have a hot putter for a few days. I think if you've got guys that are hitting these greens and regulations throughout the week, it's going to come down to a putting contest. Whoever can make the most putts, that's usually the way a birdie fest works out. I can tell you that the under-over winning score proposition bet this week in Las Vegas is 22.5 under par. So they're expecting some low scores here. But you mentioned the signature event and the PGA Championship. That's coming up next week and the following week. It's kind of interesting. Normally next week we would have a signature event like we've had the last couple of years at Quail Hollow Club, the Wells Fargo Championship, where Rory McIlroy has won 4 times. You remember he took over Xander Schauffele last year before Schauffele went on to win the PGA the next week. Well, this year, the PGA Championship is going to be at Quail Hollow Club. Okay, so a course we're very familiar with, a course that Justin Thomas won the PGA at in 2017. So for next week's event, we're going to be in Philadelphia at a golf course we've never seen before. So that'll be a very interesting handicap. It will be a signature event. And then we roll into the PGA at Quail Hollow. And what's nice about playing at Quail Hollow, it's a course that we handicap year in and year out since 2003 on the tour. So we've got some familiarity with where they're going to play the second major of the season.
All right. Now, on the Live Golf Tour, certainly they move on here and getting ready again for the big major coming up later this month. Live Korea is this week, Brady. Who do you like in this?
Yeah, they start on Fridays, and it'll be about 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern time tonight that they will get underway on Friday in Korea. It's a Jack Nicklaus signature golf course there in Korea. And I took 3 shots, a couple of longer shots, and then one of the favorites. I think this Live circuit, Joaquin Niemann won last week. Bryson DeChambeau is in the lead going into the final round. John Rahm finishes top 10 every week. So, I feel like there's really only 10 guys or so on this circuit that can win. I went with Rahm. At 6-1. I think he's ready to get it done. On the PGA Tour, he's had great success at Nicklaus courses in the past. And then I went with Dean Burmester at 30-1. And then Harold Varner III in around the neighborhood of 50-1. We'll see if we can get one of them home. And as these guys also prepare for the PGA Championship coming up in a couple weeks.
All right, Brady, great stuff as always. Thanks for coming on the show.
You bet, my friend.
All right, coming up next, Adam Kaufman previews some games and props in the NBA tonight. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be back with a whole lot more, including player props in the Knicks and Pistons. Don't go away.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. Yeah. You did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
Do you get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's talk some more NBA with Adam Kaufman. It's a great series at this point between the Knicks and Pistons. We'll see if we can dive in and get a winner, maybe some player props here. Adam, great to have you back on NewsWire. Okay, so Detroit still trying to win, a home game here, and yet they seem to be winning at Madison Square Garden. I don't know who had that one. But right now, Detroit, 1.5-point favorites over New York, total 213. Whew, I don't know. It seems like every time they go to Detroit, you just take the Knicks, right? is that the way to go about today?
As I was coming on, of course, he's a Knicks fan. He's going, don't say it. Don't you say it. The Pistons are going to win tonight. Listen, I came on with you, Craig, a couple of weeks ago, and I said I thought the Pistons were going to win this series. And honestly, they should have by now. It's ridiculous that this series is happening at the moment. Even still, like the Pistons should be just sitting back and getting ready to face the Celtics. Instead, the Knicks, obviously, are the ones that are in front. And I think anyone, even Frank, a Knicks fan, could agree that Detroit has outplayed New York so far in this series. The biggest issue is, if you're a Pistons fan, your team can't close. They can't close. They are just getting routinely outplayed in the fourth quarter due to whether it's a lack of depth after Cade Cunningham. Obviously, it's been a really poor shooting series out of Malik Beasley. You've gotten those, as advertised, as awarded clutch player of the year performances out of Jalen Brunson. Karl Anthony Towns has been big quite literally when he is needed to, and the Knicks down the stretch of some of these games have done enough. But I think overall the Pistons have been the better team. And so look, if you're saying what do you expect in this one, I don't know how you could expect anything other than this game, this series to go the distance, and I think as a fan, I know you don't feel this way if you're a Knicks fan, but I think just as a general NBA fan, this series deserves 7 games. It's been compelling. It's been entertaining. It's certainly been probably the best first round series we've had so far. No disrespect to the other game, other series that we're going to talk about tonight, which has been very compelling as well between the Clippers and Nuggets. But also, certainly if you're a Celtics supporter who just had to, watch their team, not have a, like, they weren't pushed to the brink or anything. It was a 5-game series with the Magic, but it was a little stressful at points during that series. You would love the idea of whether it's the Knicks or the Pistons coming out of this series to have to go 7, and they've only got 2 days rest coming out of Saturday, starting that second round series on Monday. So I think in that sense, this series is going to be very difficult to win. Both teams know what's on the line, the Knicks especially, with the pressure to finish tonight, just to give themselves a little bit of a breather before starting a really difficult series. I just don't think the Pistons are going to make it easy with them. I think it starts and ends with Cade.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's look up some of the props here in Game 6. Any that you like in particular? Anunoby, Bridges, Hart, Harris, Hardaway, Duran. Who do you think has the best game of those 6 that I mentioned?
Boy, interesting. I mean, obviously, it's a whole bunch of role players after getting through the your top tier, if you will, of bona fide stars. Anunoby is a guy who's really turned it on as of late. That's probably the guy that I would need to go look toward, that over 16.5 points. He did it the last time out, burned me as a matter of fact, because I was on his under, and I think he finished with 19 points, but got off to a really hot start, contained him for a little bit, scored a couple of buckets late, was able to get that one home for anyone that did support his over. I think he is someone that the Knicks realized, not unlike a Bridges, more so than a Hart. Hart is, proven to be just kind of what he was throughout much of the season, quite frankly. You don't think of Josh Hart as a scorer. You think of, I mean, obviously he's capable, but you think of him as, all right, he's going to rebound, he's going to facilitate, he's going to fill out the box scorer. In terms of, hey, we need points, and it can't just be Brunson. They're going to try and take Jalen out. It needs to be the likes of Anunoby and Bridges. So those two guys, I'd probably play the over on both. And I don't know, if both hit, and I realize, depending on, whether you're a flat unit better, or whether you're betting with the juice, either way, you might be taking a little bit of a loss there if they do split. So maybe hedge your bet and just pick the one. If I am picking the one, it's Anunoby, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if both go over.
Okay, fair enough. Clippers Nuggets tonight. The odds have certainly shifted in the Clippers' favor for this game. They're minus 6.5 tonight, and the total is 212.5. A lot of folks think this is going 7 games, but that's not our question. Our question is, can Nuggets keep it within 6.5? Certainly, the games have been pretty close, Adam.
Yeah, I don't see how you could look at them and say they can't. I mean, once again, they are leading this series. It's been a really fun series, obviously. I think this Nuggets team is, it doesn't necessarily have the depth, obviously, of that Clippers squad, but still, Jokic, a friend of mine said this to me earlier this morning. I thought it was just a great way of terming it. Jokic is the closest thing in the NBA that you've got right now to a player coach on the floor, the way he's out there physically, practically moving bodies around. I mean, he's just such an incredible player. So what he can give you in every facet of the game, coupled with these throwback Jamal Murray performances that we are seeing, or even these, the clutch Aaron Gordon moments, or obviously even like Westbrook has had his little flashes, like, and obviously there's this campaign in Denver of getting Russ a ring and all of this stuff. All this Denver team, I just think is, again, when you want to talk series that we as fans deserve to see 7 games, I absolutely believe that Denver is a team that, yeah, like I don't like, if I was looking toward either one of these sides, and I realize the Clippers are favored by 6.5, but if I'm looking at either of these sides, I don't say like, oh, blowout. I just don't see it. I think it's going to be a close game, and so absolutely I could see Denver keeping it close, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if the Nuggets win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all kind of think that the Nuggets can still easily win the series, but they just have had these lapses and haven't scored a ton. Jokic, 27.5 points a game, 9.5 assists, 12.5 rebounds. You see Kawhi Leonard's number there. James Harden, also obviously a major factor involved in the series. So as we close it out, Adam, we've got the one series we know about. It's Cleveland taking on Indiana in the next round. And boy, Indiana, great. against the Milwaukee Bucks. But Cleveland has been a juggernaut, not just during the regular season, but I mean, 2 of the 4 games, they handled Miami a way that no team has handled Miami a long time in the playoffs as well. So I'm going to expect, Adam, that Indiana is going to stay in this series, but do they have enough juice here to make it close?
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate sort of, maybe I'm alone here, I think some other people would agree, the sort of slight, that some people will use against Cleveland and what it just did, which was, as you said, an otherworldly dominant performance against the Miami Heat, is, it's like an indictment of the play-in tournament. Like, Miami shouldn't have been in the playoffs. Like, Miami isn't a playoff team. And so the Cavaliers should have wiped the floor as they did. And it was commanding and deserves all of the respect. And doing so, obviously, with guys in and out of the lineup and playing through some injuries and a little uncertainty in terms of how certain guys are going to be utilized. You have some of that now going against Indiana. I think this is going to be a really fun series. I think it's going to be a long series. The winner of the series, it's not going to surprise me in either way. I know that people want to look towards Cleveland naturally being the top seed in the Eastern Conference. I think the Pacers give them a fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a 7-game series win out of Indiana. I just think this team, look back at what we saw the Pacers do in the postseason last year against the Celtics. Yes, they got swept, but kind of not unlike this Orlando series. Every single game was competitive. Every single game could have gone either way. If the Pacers now healthy, because they weren't last year, remember Halliburton was hurt and missed time in that series. If this team can go out there, take care of business, steal a couple of those games this time around, and Donovan Mitchell isn't forced to do everything by himself, and there's a little bit of inconsistency in terms of some of the role players there, I think Indiana absolutely is capable of winning this series.
It's going to be a great one, Adam, and we're going to get a lot of clarity come Monday of next week. I'm sort of already looking forward to the second round of the NBA playoffs, to be honest with you. But yeah, thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate the time, Adam.
You bet. My pleasure.
All right. Simon Applebaum joins us next to review some media notes here on NewsWire.
New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. Yeah. You did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Simon Applebaum, our resident media expert, also hosts a podcast called Tomorrow Will Be Televised. Speaking of which, we'll go through some television viewership from the NFL draft. Simon, great to have you back here on the show. And I mean, honestly, we just got to call it what it is at this point. The NFL draft was dominated by one player who was expected to go high, that did not go high, or even low, or even lower, toward the end of the draft. It was the single biggest talking point for 3 days.
It was at the expense of Cam Ward, Craig, the number one pick, and that was a bugaboo for ESPN's coverage, especially. I saw the coverage on ESPN. For them to just do 10 seconds off the bat on Cam Ward and then go right into Jamel Sanders and pretty much keep him the big story for most of the rest of the coverage was really amazing. Molly McGrath, who was the person doing the interviews, did not get an interview with Ward, and they didn't even say that they didn't get an interview, which is really shocking for ESPN. By the way, the coverage in terms of viewership, Night 1, Night 2, collectively, that's ESPN, ABC, NFL Network, and ESPN Deportes, second best ever. 13 million viewers Night 1, 7.5 viewers Night 2, and 4 million viewers Day 3, which, by the way, was the best ever for Day 3, obviously because of Sanders getting picked in the 5th round. That sort of boosted the coverage. By the way, something else, too, you should know, ESPN's coverage alone on Thursday night, number 1 program of the entire night at 6 million viewers plus. ABC at the other end was number 5. On the flip side, ABC was number 3 on Friday, and ESPN was number 7. So it was very interesting to see what happened. By the way, in terms of the Sanders situation, credit to NFL Network for really putting a lot of perspective on it, not getting into the whole collusion, racism thing, but basically saying, hey, Shamur, you should have done more to market and promote yourself, rather than just lay back on the sidelines and hope people are going to take you because of where you're being ranked. And to be fair to Sanders, Sanders himself basically said, you know what, and through social media, I blew it. I should have done more to market myself to the NFL owners, and I learned a lesson out of this.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's kind of hard to navigate when there's a player that's supposed to go so high, and he's the most popular player, arguably, in the NFL draft as well. Okay, so look, the regional sports network drama continues, Simon, in New York. And you know what's been going on with MSG, of course, all season, not broadcasting games. The big story, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, of the week is the fact that SNY may be up for sale. I mean, I got to tell you, Simon, I mean, the more we hear about these regional sports networks, the more I'm leaning toward thinking this is going to be a completely different landscape in a year or two.
And it could be a landscape that changes, that transforms by the end of this year, because we've got all 3 networks, MSG, SNY, and Yes in Play. SNY has apparently hired a financial organization to see if they can either raise money or maybe sell out to another owner. At the same time, MSG, which came very, very close to declaring bankruptcy, is apparently looking now at maybe merging with Yes Network, SNY, or both. So it's very possible that this city and this metro area, which has had 3 regional sports networks for decades, could, by the end of this year, become a 1 regional network situation. And you got to figure that one of the big reasons why is that more and more people are turning off cable and satellite. They're using smart TV sets to use them to watch sports. And as a result, we're seeing less and less advertisers get on regional sports networks, more and more teams putting their games on smart TV sets or on local television stations. And that's why we're seeing this incredibly dramatic activity here in New York. So what used to be like the anomaly to the norm, it's become part of the norm with regional sports networks around the country, and it may do so by the end of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. It's like a fascinating dynamic, especially with all the NBA, Major League Baseball looking to sort of consolidate theirs as well. Okay, so now let's hit some of the alternative sports here, and we'll start off with bowling, Simon. I don't think you and I have talked about it here over the last couple of years. Certainly popular and very niche group. Where could we expect to see some more of that program?
Well, you're going to see it next year on the CW. They made a deal yesterday with the Professional Bowling Association. That's the folks who used to do the Pro Bowlers Tour that was on ABC for decades, 60s, 70s, and so forth. They're going to do 10 consecutive 2-hour events on Sunday afternoons. Great deal, because in the last few decades, both ESPN and then recently Fox, they have not given the PBA their due. They don't promote, they don't market. In fact, there was a PBA event on Fox last weekend Who knew? Pretty much nobody. And the problem is also that the PBA needs to really determine how we're going to market this sport to people. For years, they have been getting into this whole let's be hip, let's be flip, let's have like a WWE kind of feel to the bowlers, and I think it's blown the audience. The CW doing this now next year on a 10-week basis, consecutive Sunday afternoons, 2 hours, designated time period. I think of an opportunity, if the PBA goes along with this, to really make bowling, if not take it from being an afterthought lately to being a good thought in terms of something to watch on Sundays.
Yeah, Simon, before you go, I know obviously this weekend is the Run for the Roses at Churchill Downs, and usually come Saturday afternoon, people get very excited about that. There's some big names involved in this week with some big trainers back again. How do you anticipate the viewership this year? It does seem like regardless of the race, it always does really good numbers.
I think it's going to be good. NBC and Peacock are going to simulcast it along with Telemundo, which got into the simulcasting of this last year. And when you have journalism among one of the horses in this thing, and a lot of people think journalism could do a good job with the run, I think there'll be a lot more people, maybe in the journalism profession like me, watching this.
Simon, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Really appreciate it. We'll catch you again next week.
You're welcome, Craig. Take care. Enjoy the rest of the week.
All right, Simon Applebaum of the podcast Tomorrow will be televised, joining us each and every week here on NewsWire. All right, we mentioned some afternoon baseball set to go. When we come back after the break, we will hit one more time on the Kentucky Derby and also get into one of the owners of one of the horses that's in this for a very emotional moment, I'm guessing, for a lot of people. A return from Major League Baseball we have not seen from a player since 2022. And I mean, if you haven't been, we've kind of been I got to be honest, we've kind of been avoiding a story all week long. This is the conversation that was seen on television with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. I mean, I tend to want to avoid that kind of stuff here on the show, but I mean, the story just keeps writing new chapters to it. So we are going to talk about it coming up after the break. Also, as a reminder, some expanded coverage for the Kentucky Derby daily race form will be on the air today, immediately after Smiley Kaufman's show is over. So make sure you tune in to that today. And also, if you're looking for picks for the Kentucky Derby, tune in Saturday morning exclusively here on SportsGrid at 8 a.m. as daily racing form takes over the airways and previews the race at Churchill Downs. We'll be right back.
Think that there's something to the fact that they blow all these leads against the Edmonton Oilers? It's like the Oilers could be down 4 goals and they come back like it's nothing.
We got a series now. I think this thing is going to reset, Scott. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true in this series. I think I told you that last week. I'm expecting this. I picked the Kings in 7 before the series started, and it's like plus 700.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Is so crazy that you get both ends of that spectrum and the narrative trying to be correct in doing so and to make a statement for engagement. You're wrong, you've been wrong, and deal with the reality of the situation.
All of the people that analyze the draft mocked one in the first round, and even could he go to the Giants at number 3 or trade up back in that round. They got Dart, they didn't get Sanders, and the fall was on at that point.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to get a bunch of upsets. We're going to get a lot of craziness. Didn't happen as well. I mean, over the last calendar year, Sam, I don't ever recall 6 or 8 months of time in sports where the books lost, but here we are.
They estimate FanDuel and DraftKings lost $185 million combined for March Madness. So estimating not just that they didn't have a profitable March Madness, but it was a huge loss for them as well.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. As I mentioned, I don't like to get into like the TMZ stuff here on the show. I feel like it doesn't do anybody any justice here on the show. But it does involve a sports figure. It does involve his girlfriend. I mean, the story is 4 days old and it keeps growing. We got to do it, so we'll do it here. It's time now for some last licks. All right, Bill Belichick, arguably the greatest NFL head coach of all time. If he's not, he's number 2. If he's not, he's number 3. You know what I'm saying. He's one of the best ever. He decided to coach at the University of North Carolina. And for those of you who are not familiar, who haven't seen the story, he wrote a book, or he's writing a book. It's going to come out soon. And he was in an interview over the weekend. And some of the outtakes have made their way to the internet, as probably you would expect. So essentially, Bill Belichick, during his interview with, I believe it was CBS This Morning, correct me if I'm wrong, his girlfriend was in the room, and during the interview was sort of, deflecting some different questions, saying that some of the questions shouldn't be answered on television. And that made the rounds on social media. It was trending for a while. And, we came back here Monday. My producer Frank and I talked about it. I'm like, forget it. Not a big deal. But as the story continues, there are more stories that keep coming out with this. And, some people are making jokes that Bill Belichick is like hostage now in a situation like to this girlfriend that he has. It's very bizarre. So late yesterday, because of all of this hoopla, Belichick released a statement essentially saying that he agrees with his girlfriend sort of stepping in on some of these interviews, saying that some of the questions that were asked were not supposed to be asked during the interview, among them how they met. Look, I have nothing to add here more than the situation is becoming more bizarre. It is not unusual, by the way, to see spouses, male or women in sports, get involved with their husband or wife's job. Not unusual at all. It is unusual, however, to see an interview being done and to be interrupted in the middle, not by the person who's being interviewed, but by somebody else. And that's essentially what's happened. Now, where the story goes from here, I have no idea. The one thing that I can tell you is that if you are trying to sell a book, this is the way that you do it. So is some of it contrived, made up to sort of stir the pot to get people to say what's actually in this book? If so, great idea. If not, don't know really what's going on in Bill Belichick's life. But needless to say, he's got his hands full coaching the University of North Carolina, among other things, next year. All right, once upon a time, the Houston Astros were the best team in baseball. They were winning World Series. They were winning the American League Championship Series, and they're still a really good team. But needless to say, one of the key figures you may remember from those World Series championships that they won has not pitched in a really long time. You may have forgotten who that person is on your screen. Who is that guy? That is Lance McCullers Jr. For baseball fans, that name may be familiar. For non-baseball fans, here's the deal. He has not pitched in Major League Baseball since 2022. It has been almost 3 years, but he is set to make his return to baseball this weekend. He, of course, is the son of Lance McCullers, who pitched for a long time in the big leagues with the Padres and the Yankees. But also, Lance McCullers Jr. was a really good pitcher with the Astros, too. In fact, one of the very few players that is left from their World Series championship several years ago. Will he do well? No clue, but a really good story. Wanted to bring it to you at the end of the show. Speaking of which, a really good story as well is coming this weekend. Kentucky Derby is set to go off, of course, at Churchill Downs. And for those of you who are not familiar, because I honestly was not familiar with the story, it'll be a very emotional day for the family of Toby Keith, the country music singer who passed away last year. He has a horse in the race from Dream Walkin' Farms in Oklahoma. The name of it is Render Judgment. Current odds to win the Kentucky Derby, 35-1. I did not know that Toby Keith was a very big horse racing enthusiast before he passed away, but needless to say, this was always his dream to have a horse run for the roses at Churchill Downs. Unfortunately, passed away, but that dream, hopefully for family ends up coming true this weekend. We'll see how this horse performs. Speaking of which, if you're interested in more horse racing content, it's coming your way immediately after Smiley Kaufman's show, Daily Racing Form, coming up later today. That's followed by Scott Farrell Coast to Coast. In addition, Game Time Decisions with NBA playoff action, in-game live game day, and Gabe with Sports Rage tonight with the latest in the NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball as well. Thanks to Simon Applebaum of the podcast tomorrow will be televised, Adam Kaufman of SportsGrid, Brady Kannon of SportsGrid as well, and Gilbert McGregor joining us talking NBA sporting news. For our director Luke and my producer Frank, I'm Craig Mish. We'll be right back here to recap the week of NewsWire and preview the upcoming weekend in the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. See you back here tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for your exclusive home of NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Have a great day.